This gym has 900 paying members. The floor holds 140 people. That is not a mistake, and it is not greed. This business is built deliberately and completely on the certainty that most of those 900 will never walk through the door. And it goes further than that. The member who comes 4 times a week, sweats hard, and uses the equipment properly is the least profitable customer in this building. The one who paid in January and has not been seen since is the one keeping the lights on. By the end of this, you will know exactly what one visit costs him, why January pays for the entire year, and how a single trainer can walk out of that door and take a third of the revenue with him without breaking any law at all. Start with the floor itself. 3,000 square feet, almost always on a first floor because ground floor rent would be impossible. And unlike a shop, almost none of that money goes into stock. It goes into steel that sits there for a decade. 43 lakh rupees, and more than half of that is equipment. This is the first business in this series where the capital is not stock and not a deposit. It is machinery, which means it does not expire, it does not rot, and it does not need reordering. It just slowly wears out. Now the revenue. And it behaves unlike any business we have looked at. Members do not pay as they go. They pay in advance, in blocks, and the largest block of the year lands in one particular month. January. Every single year. A third of the year's new members arrive in 1 month, most of them buying annual packages, most of them paying up front, and a very large number of them will stop coming before March. That pattern is not a flaw in the business. It is the business. Watch what happens to a January cohort over the following 12 months, because this single curve explains why the maths works at all. By June, 3 quarters have effectively stopped. By December, 83 of every 100. And crucially, a large share of them paid for the whole year on the first day. They have bought a service they are no longer consuming, which is the most profitable transaction in retail. 770,000 in, 160,000 kept. And now the number that reframes everything. Because if you divide his running costs not by members, but by actual visits, the business looks completely different. 174 rupees a visit. The man who trains 4 times a week pays the equivalent of 54. Every time he walks in, the gym loses 120 rupees on him. The woman who paid the same fee and came twice all year is worth 700 rupees a visit. He is not selling exercise. He is selling the intention to exercise, and intention is far cheaper to supply. But the absence is not spread evenly, and that is where the danger sits. Almost everybody who does come comes between 6 and 9 in the evening. The gym is empty for 11 hours and overwhelmed for 3, and the members judge it entirely on those 3. Which puts him in a genuinely impossible position. Selling more memberships makes the evening worse, and the evening is the only part anybody experiences. Selling fewer makes the maths collapse. Every gym you have ever been annoyed by at 7 in the evening is sitting exactly on that line. Which is why every gym that survives eventually stops selling only gym. Those 11 empty hours are already paid for. The rent is spent, the air conditioning is running, the floor is sitting there. Anything that fills them costs almost nothing to deliver and drops straight to the bottom line. 84,000 rupees a month, more than half his profit, coming out of hours the building was going to sit idle anyway. This is the most important idea in the whole business, and it applies far beyond gyms. When your cost is fixed and your capacity is empty, almost any revenue is good revenue. The same logic drives the corporate deals. An office nearby buys 40 memberships at half price, which sounds like a terrible rate, until you notice when those people actually come. They come at lunchtime and just after work, before the evening crush, into a building that was empty. Half price for a seat nobody else wanted is not a discount. It is found money. And there is one more line on that statement that behaves like a person rather than a number. Personal training is the highest margin thing in the building. and it is delivered by an individual who builds a direct relationship with the client. Those clients are loyal to him, not to the address. 2/3 of his profit can walk out of the door inside a trainer's phone. This is why good gyms pay trainers better than the market rate, rotate clients deliberately, and keep the relationship with reception rather than the floor. Not out of kindness, out of arithmetic. The supplement shelf behind reception is small money at a very large margin, and it carries a risk out of all proportion to its size. The person recommending the tub is the same person supervising the workout, which makes the advice feel medical when it is commercial. A gym that pushes too hard there loses the thing it cannot rebuy, which is the member's belief that the trainer is on their side. And there is a steady, tiring stream of members asking to freeze, transfer, or refund. Every one of those requests is somebody who paid for a year, used it for 6 weeks, and now wants the arithmetic reversed. Granting it destroys the model. Refusing it produces the reviews. This is the daily, unglamorous work of running the place, and no equipment catalog mentions it. Then the two costs nobody thinks about when they imagine owning a gym. Equipment wears out on a schedule of its own, and a broken treadmill in the corner does more damage to renewals than the repair ever costs. And air conditioning runs for the empty hours exactly as it runs for the full ones. And almost nobody sets that replacement money aside. The equipment works, the profit looks healthy, and then in year 8, the treadmills start dying together, and there is 22 lakh rupees of machinery to buy with nothing put by for it. And a new gym opening nearby is more dangerous here than in almost any other trade, because the switching cost is close to zero. Nobody has stock in his shop, nobody owes him money, and a membership is a decision people are already slightly regretting. The newer floor, for the first year, simply looks better. And the price he sets does something stranger than choosing his income. It chooses his crowd. A cheap membership brings volume, and volume means the evening is unbearable, and the equipment wears out twice as fast. A high price brings fewer people who come more often, which is pleasant, expensive to serve, and leaves the floor half empty. He is not picking a price. He is picking which problem he would rather have. So does a second one work? Better than most things in this series, because nothing here lives in the owner's hands either. The equipment is the same, the software is the same, the timetable is the same. What does not copy is the trainers, and they are the part that actually keeps members. 74% of the first gym's profit, which copies well, but look at the capital line. Another 43 lakh rupees of steel, and the return on the pair is lower than on the first alone. This is the point in every capital-heavy business where growth and returns start pulling in opposite directions. 45% on capital and 738 rupees an hour, which is the second best rate for his own time in anything we have looked at. Because unlike the tea cart or the scrap go-down, the owner is not the thing being sold. 6 trainers deliver the service. He runs the building. Line them all up, and the rule holds again. More capital, worse percentage, better pay for the owner's time. The gym demands the most money of anything we have examined and returns the least drama. And in exchange, it is the closest thing in this series to a business that runs without its owner. So what is a gym, honestly? It is a building full of equipment sold to 900 people on the shared understanding that almost none of them will use it. That sounds cynical until you notice that both sides know. He is not deceiving anybody. He is selling the same thing every gym has always sold, which is not fitness, but the feeling of having decided to get fit. And every January, without fail, that turns out to be the easiest thing in the world to sell.